An animal shelter in Duluth was forced to close its doors temporarily today after a pipe burst, flooding parts of the building. Northern News Now's Madison Green assessed the damage and heard from staff and volunteers, grateful that their furry friends and residents avoided the water.
Instead of the typical sounds of barking and meowing, it was a slow drip that soon had the attention of those at Animal Allies around 9 a.m. Friday.
A pipe burst in our ceiling in our sprinkler system and caused a large amount of water to pour into the building. And it took us a while to really assess what the situation was, and the water continued to pour in until we were able to shut off the main water valve.
According to Executive Director of Animal Allies, Julie Waltenberg, that was only after about 6 inches of water accumulated in the building. Waltenberg credits the quick action of volunteers for the majority of cleanup.
They came immediately, as well as the Duluth Fire Department, and everybody jumped in and started to clean out the areas that had the water,
which affected only office supplies and furniture, because luckily the flooding only occurred in the administrative rooms.
Those areas we would prefer to have damage like this instead of our animals' kennels. So thankfully the animals are all safe and dry in their kennels, and there's been no impact to them.
Animal Allies will be looking for donations to replace anything damaged, but they anticipate being able to operate as normal beginning Saturday.
This flood has been isolated to a certain portion of the building. A message to the public is to please still come to Animal Allies. We're safe.
Safe and sort of dry. In Duluth, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
Madison, thank you. Today happens to be Betty White Day, a day to donate to animal shelters in honor of the beloved late actress. To donate to Animal Allies, you can head to our website at northernnewsnow.com.